Hi and welcome to Down the Shed. So we're going to try and recreate that lesson 2 on the 50-in-1 ELENCO project lab. So I've already placed the switch onto the board. I've not soldered it in yet. I'm actually going to go with 5 volts on this one, so we're going to experiment a little bit. So my potentiometer or variable resistor is 10k, not 50, but I'm going to be using 5 volts and not 9. So theoretically I can halve everything from the other project. So the 10k variable resistor instead of a 50, and they use a 1k resistor. So I'm going to experiment with a either a 2.2 or a 3.3k resistor. I think we'll go with a 2.2, and the 10k variable resistor, and see what we get. Now we're going to be using one of these old school style flat LEDs. It's red, it has a forward voltage of around 2 volts, so that'll be our resistor. Let's get some, oh, watch the light, let's get some power onto the board. So I'm going to use this power jack on this one. So there we have 2 of our components on. So we now have our switch and we have our power, so I'll get those soldered in. So that's our switch and our variable resistor soldered on. Right, well I thought this should be positive, this should be negative. I see why. Okay, so if we set the turn this light off. If we set this to a temperature, not a temperature, if we set this to 20 volts so we can actually get a correct reading. There we go. So if we take the N pin and this pin up here, as you can see we're getting our voltage reading. So we are bang on 5 volts. So we've got our power in. We've got our switch in place. In fact, we should only need to touch 2 of those to get continuity. So we're set to continuity and try and there we go. So either 2 of the pins will give us the continuity we require. So as you can see from the component tester, the resistor is 2192 ohm or 2.2k. So that's the one we're going to go with. So we don't really need all of this side of the board. We have an LED and a potentiometer to place on, so we'll give ourselves a bit of room with those. We'll place a potentiometer over there. I drew myself my own little schematic. So I want power switch, switch to resistor, resistor to that resistor, the variable to LED. So I'll put this resistor in over here, and we'll have the LED on the end here, like so. What we have now is the LED to mount, so the positive is going towards the variable resistor and the negative is towards the standard resistor, so we can remember that. I will stick 5 volts through this LED so you can see what happens once we've built the kit, so just to show this one's correctly functioning. So there we have it. So that's our LED lit up, and we'll put that straight into the board. Let's spread the terminals across a wee bit. So long leg, oh geez, drop it. So long leg is here, let's put the short leg over there, spread it out. We will have it sit up off the board a little bit, like so. So I'll solder that one on as it is. There we go. So that's all of our components on the board. So now what we have to do is connect them together. Now this comes the fun part. So as you can see, there's our circuit on the board. We've got our power, our switch, our variable resistor and our LED. Now we know our power, which is this one, needs to go to the switch. The switch will then go to the resistor, which is this one over here, I think. Yep. The resistor will then go to the variable resistor on the middle pin, so that'll come over here. One of the outside pins of the variable will go to the plus on the LED, and then the LED will come back to the minus over here. So let's crack on with that. So there we have our positive from the power source to the switch. Now we want to go from the switch to the 2.2 resistor. So there's our connection from the switch to the resistor. So now we want to go from the resistor to the middle pin of the variable resistor. So that'll be from here to there. Okay, so switch to resistor is done. Oh, out of focus. So now we want to go from that variable resistor to the plus of, I should have put the LED in the other way round. So plus was up here, so plus will be the bottom one. The minus is the big triangle side. Yep, so that's correct. So I'm going from here to the top pin. As I said, I should have put it in back to front, that way I'd have had a much simpler connection. Never mind. There we go. So that'll be on the plus of this one. Actually, we cut that down to touch. Like so. So plus of the LED. To side of the potentially, well, the variable resistor. Like so. We know that this pin here is the minus or the negative supply, ground if you like. I want to put a bit more. There we go. So now we're going to wire the negative of the LED to the negative of the power supply. So that's that on. So that wants to come over to here. I'm just using this green bit of wire because it was a bit lying around. It just makes sense to use. Since we're just building a little scratch kit, it's not really that important that we have colour coded wires. It's not that important that we need colour coded wires. We know what we're wiring. We hope. Should have put my little fan on though. So this one wants to go into the negative. Like so, and that should be our little board built. So let's turn this light out and see what results we get. So we now have a power supply. Let's zoom out. Let's move this back. So I'll plug in the power, press the switch, and we have nothing. And we still have nothing. So I'll fluff this one up somewhere along the line. Make sure we've got incoming power. Let's do some basic polarity checks. So set to 20 volts. So our first check will be double check the power. Okay, I have voltage. So how am I going to check the LED and keep that circuit open is a good question. And I do have power coming across there. So I've got the full voltage coming across to the LED. Let's try turning the potentiometer down and see if that's still the same. And I'm still getting the same voltage. So I'm not sure what I've done here. So let's do a test. Let's try and swap some wires over. This definitely shouldn't work now. Oh, it does. Okay, so it appears that we had wired our LED backwards. So there's a lesson. So potentiometer is up full, or the variable resistor. We turn the resistor down. That 2.2k is probably putting out too much resistance. Let's turn the big light off. And as you can see, fairly bright. I need to shut that as well. There we go. So you can see we have max brightness. We turn it down, we go to minimal brightness. Turn it up, turn it down. So this is basically the same sort of circuit as in the dimmer switch of your house. And I'll just prove that I'm not fluking this, even though I did wire it back to front. But let's keep that goof in the video because we can all see our little mess up. So there we have our brightness control. And just to prove that the LED is being protected by current, I should just turn the big light out. Oh, got to try and do this in the dark. So I'm actually going to feed the spare LED, and there you go. I don't know if the camera caught that, but that instantly died. So that was 5 volts through. You can just barely see the LED lighting up. That's after having taken 5 volts. And the same LED, or same style LED, with the same 5 volt supply, and we have actually protected it using resistance. So that was basically lesson 2 of project number 2. We built our own basically dimmer switch with LED from scratch. So we've learned now that by putting, if we compare this to the water analogy, we've got our pump putting the power or pumping the water through. We've got our valve which lets us open and close the water flow. We've got our water meter which is telling us that the water's flowing and at what rate. We've got our variable resistor here, or I can't remember what they compare that to. But we've got our trimmer here to vary the resistance of the amount of rocks in the pipe, thus reducing or increasing the current or the flow of the water or the current of the electricity. So I hope you've enjoyed this little video. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and next week we shall continue with project number 3. In the meantime, I do have other bits and bobs that I will be doing in between. But I'll see you in the next one. Hello, darling.